all set, and most of us never follow through on. But, 2018 is a new year, and Gordy in Maine tweeted this, saying, or sent this into Facebook, "I'm going to continue my weight loss. I lost 50 pounds in 2017.
Good for you, Gordy. Right on. All right, an email from Sherry. She said, accept what is. Let go of what was. Have faith in what will be. It's kind of like the Frozen theme. Let it go.
I like it. I
like
it.
Chuck, read more scripture.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. What is your New Year's resolution,
Mine?
Peter?
Buy more Bitcoin, get more tattoos, tweet more, and love America.
He's not kidding.
I'm actually not kidding. What
Sounds like Trump's. Sounds like Trump's New Year's resolution.
After it. Get in the fight. I'm just don't back down. More on the throttle. That's the way to go. How about you, Peter?
Just all that. I'll copy and paste that.
You're going to tweet more, Peter?
Maybe. Good time to start.
Why not?
Yeah.
You're on Twitter. You're on the tweets.
I'm going to try and exercise more.
Exercise more. See, that's a very
I'm not
prudent...
consistent, and traveling back and forth makes me not as consistent, and so I need to do that. So keep
difficult.
Emailing us your resolutions. We'll try and get them up on the board.
That's right. We will check them out all morning long. We're going to check in right now with Rick Reichmuth, who's live atop Times Square, right in front of the ball that will drop in T-minus more hours than I can count. Rick, good morning.
Good morning, guys. You know that when you go up about 400 feet, it gets a lot colder. Once you go higher up in the air, the wind kicks up a little bit, the temperature goes down a little bit, so it's certainly a very chilly morning out here. But not just here, it's a chilly morning almost everywhere across the country, except for far south Florida and parts of the southwest, California and Arizona. In fact, Phoenix area has been seeing record-breaking high temperatures. So if you're wondering where all the heat is, it's down across parts of the southwest, certainly nowhere else right now. We've got a dangerously cold night tonight. We've been talking all week long about the temperatures here in Times Square tonight. We're going to be somewhere in the 10 to 13 degree range. But as you said, if you're standing out here for that long, it doesn't take long until it gets cold. I will tell you, we have a warm spot we can go to here, but the second we're out here for 5 or 6 minutes, it starts to get really cold. So you better dress accordingly. Try not to drink too much because that will make you make some bad choices, and probably not notice if you're going into some bad state, physical state, hypothermia or something like that. So that's my advice. It's going to be very cold all morning long. We're right here. We are going to be talking to the people from the Waterford Crystals, finding out about the new crystal that they have on the ball this year, as well as, oh my gosh. There we go. That's what's happening, guys.
Rick,
what's going on.
Brain freeze.
So cold.
Brain freeze.
It is a brain freeze. It's so cold.
The synapses
the
are
USO.
just not
We've
firing.
got the USO singers here.
Oh, cool.
That's never happened to me before on TV, by the way. The words just totally went.
2018 is a new year, Rick. You gotta get a clean slate.
Exactly.
Good man. Look at that. He's visibly freezing.
Yeah, it looks
if you're thinking about Times Square, think again.
And I hadn't thought about that. He's right. He's up higher. It's probably even colder than it is when you're standing on the sidewalk. So.
Terrible. Well, if you open up on a Sunday edition of the New York Times, which the president has labeled the failing New York Times, you'll see an anonymously sourced article this morning. It said how the Russian inquiry began. A campaign aide drinks and talk of political dirt. Here's part of the article from the New York Times. It says, during a night of heavy drinking at an upscale London bar in May of 2016, George Papadopoulos, a young foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign, made a startling revelation to Australia's top diplomat in Britain. Russia had political dirt on Hillary Clinton. About 3 weeks earlier, Mr. Papadopoulos had been told that Moscow had thousands of emails that would embarrass Mrs. Clinton, apparently stolen in an effort to try to damage her campaign. So the New York Times is sort of laying this out as the nexus and the beginning of the Russia investigation. So it was a drunken conversation from a more than low-level outside advisor to the Trump campaign that apparently triggered this entire Russia, of course accelerated by a fake dossier paid for by the Democrats paying Russians. So this is what it comes to. Anonymous sourcing articles in the New York Times about drunken conversations.
And the timing's really interesting because really people were starting to get very upset, the American people, the Congress, that we didn't get the information from the FBI and the DOJ about the source of the DOJ of the dirty dossier. So who paid for that? We know the DNC did, but the FBI seems to not answer the question.
They haven't yet.
They refused to answer that question. So you wonder, did they drop this story? Are the anonymous sources in the New York Times from the FBI, from the DOJ? Are they trying to really distract from the fact? And one last thing, Peter, if the DOJ or if this story did not start with the dirty dossier, why aren't they turning over the documents that the House Intelligence Committee has asked for? Seems kind of sneaky to me.
Right, and we still don't know how accurate everything that Papadopoulos said.
That's right.
But we do know, of course, that everybody who's drunk at a bar always tells the truth. They never exaggerate. But this doesn't mean that the FBI still did not use that dossier that is still unverified to get a FISA warrant to then spy on members of the Trump campaign. It does mean, though, that a very, very expensive, possibly historic special counsel probe may have a nexus here. However, something else curious about these sources, Anonymous. We keep being told no leaks from the Mueller probe. We're not going to get any leaks. Isn't he the key witness for them, or he is a key witness? So
Absolutely.
Where is this stuff coming from? Obviously, somewhere that the New York Times thinks that they can trust it.
You're exactly right. And we know their sources that they trust are limited, and I'm sure Bob Mueller is the gold standard of a source they would trust on a leak, no doubt. I mean, but to the article, it doesn't say a night of drinking. It says a night of heavy drinking, which is journalistic code for he's probably drunk at a bar, talking to someone, spouting off, because he's not a senior. George Papadopoulos, I don't know him at all, but everyone has validated this guy was never a senior member of the team, barely on the periphery, always trying to impress his bosses, a young guy trying to cook up schemes of doing this or doing that to be more relevant. Why wouldn't he be at a bar bragging about what he may or may not know? And how in the world could that be the trigger? But you're right, it very well could be. That combined with all the other aspects, including the dossier, could lead to the nexus of this investigation, which is the irony of the whole thing. This investigation, which has gone nowhere and showed no collusion, may be based on that.
Right,
Maybe.
and even if it were true, saying that you heard that the Russians were spying on her emails, I mean, that doesn't mean necessarily that there was any collusion on the part of the Trump campaign. It means you maybe heard that.
And, maybe the reason after a year of investigating that they don't have any evidence of collusion is because the star witnesses can't remember what they said.
That's right. Well, let's get straight to your headlines right now. We have a Fox News alert. A live look in Times Square where the NYPD is beefing up security as 1 million people prepare to ring in the new year. Snipers will keep watch from above as officers on the ground close off streets, check bags, deploy bomb-sniffing dogs. Now, earlier, former New York Chief Investigator Steve Cardian explained why they're taking unprecedented measures.
You can't prevent everything. There is always going to be evil people. If something happens, they're going to minimize the damage that it causes. And it will likely be at one of the entrances.
On the Las Vegas Strip, snipers and the National Guard will protect thousands of New Year's partiers. The man police say led cops to a fake hostage situation that ended with another man's death has done this before. We've just learned that 25-year-old Tyler Barris reported a fake bomb threat to a California news station back in 2015. That, as we get our first listen at this week's alleged swatting call, which led to the police shooting and killing of a 28-year-old Andrew Finch.
I'm thinking about, because I already poured gasoline all over the house. I might just set it on fire.
Okay, well, we don't need to do that, okay?
Do you have my address correct?
Police also releasing body cam footage of the shooting. Finch's family saying they want both Barris and the officer held accountable. Online reports suggest that Barris had an argument over a video game with another person not related to Finch.
Great.
Faculty and staff at Lake Superior University in Michigan releasing their 43rd annual list of banished words for misuse, overuse, and general uselessness. And this year's top vote getting should sound familiar.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news.
That's right, it's fake news. This year's tongue-in-cheek list also includes Covfefe and Nothing Burger. And those are your headlines. I like both those words, by the way.
Of course, yeah.
I love Covfefe.
You can apply to anything.
And
Is it
Trump-
Covfefe or Kofifi? We still haven't
I
solved
say
that.
Covfefe, but you know.
Trump said
It's very French of
It's very
Covfefe.
French.
that he
Covfefe.
tweets a lot because he considers most of the mainstream media to be essentially garbage.
Right.
And now we have a nice segue to this story. The New York Times has an op-ed where the writer talks to several different women about their life experiences, and they have all concluded that none of it will lead them to want to ever take out the trash. That has to be a job for the man. They don't care if that is something from the 1950s. They're not going to do it. There are a list of reasons. Some people just don't like the mess. Some people don't like the trash juices.
The smell.
The
weight.
But doesn't matter. Man's got to do it.
Yeah, man's got to take out the trash and shovel the snow.
Everyone's got a red line. Taking out the trash, that's still a man's job, even for the liberal coastal elite, because they're better than us. They're liberal coastal elite, but it turns out they're just like us. It's kind of like celebrities, just like us.
And the people that they talk to are from Brooklyn, Manhattan, Portland, San Francisco. Not necessarily
just a total representative
sample. So it turns out that the New York, housewives also tell their husbands, you better take out the trash. We're all the same. And we appreciate you men for doing that.
Keep sending us your emails. We're going to read a few later on in the email. We're going to read a few later on in the program at friends@foxnews.com. But in the meantime, we're moving on.
And we've got this. No wall, no deal for the Dreamers. President Trump laying out his demands for DACA. Is this what it's going to take for the wall to get built?
President Trump laying out his demands for a DACA deal, tweeting, "The Democrats have been told, and they fully understand, that there can be no DACA without the desperately needed wall at the southern border and an end to the horrible chain migration and ridiculous lottery system of immigration, etc. We must protect our country at all cost."
So is the president on the verge of his next major deal? Mark Kerkorian is the executive director of the Center for Immigration Studies, and he joins us now to weigh in. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
So why is it, I know that on Wednesday the Democrats and the Republicans are going to get together at the White House to talk about DACA. Why do Republicans need the Democrats if they still have control of the House and the Senate and the White House? Why don't they just try to do it like they just did tax reform with only Republicans?
Because in the Senate there's still the filibuster. The tax bill there's a kind of parliamentary rules where you can move financial measures through with only 51 votes. This would require 60 votes in the Senate, and so they're going to need some Democrat buy-in. But the reason for this package is not just horse trading. It's not the White House saying, okay, Democrats, you want the amnesty, we want this, let's make a deal. Laws are made like that all the time, nothing wrong with it, but that's not what's happening here. You need to have enforcement elements like the wall and other things, and get rid of the chain migration in order to limit the damage caused by an amnesty. Because if you amnesty people, first thing that happens is more illegal immigrants want to come because they say, hey, look, these people made it, we want to as well.
Sure.
The other thing is a few years down the road, the former illegal immigrants then can sponsor their family members, and that's what chain migration is. So you need to fix those two things as part of the deal as sort of damage control, because if you just amnesty these people with DACA, you're going to end up with more illegal immigration and more chain migration unless you do something about it.
Mark, of course. I mean, if the Republicans just did a DACA deal and didn't get anything for it, not only would it be terrible politically, but it would be really bad policy. So do you believe they can get a fully funded border wall and the end of chain migration? They are the majority. They have the presidency in exchange for a DACA deal that progressives are more or less obsessed with.
Well, we're going to see. The question is, are they going to stick to their guns, or are they going to cave when Senator Schumer in the Senate says no deal? Really, the real question is, it's two questions. Will the president stick to his guns? I think he will. But are the Democrats willing to let these DACA work permits expire and these people become illegal immigrants again, rather than give in to some of these pretty reasonable demands? I think the Democrats may be willing to just play politics with this issue and let all of those people lose their work permits and lose their jobs when the Republicans in the White House are saying, look, we're actually okay with amnestying this special group of people in exchange for things to limit the damage. So it's going to be the Democrats, maybe, who will sink this potential amnesty for these DACA work permit people.
Mark, if the GOP in Congress caves and they agree to a deal with the Democrats that does not include a fully funded border wall, do you think the conservatives there are going to start to move to get rid of Paul Ryan as Speaker, Mitch McConnell as the majority leader?
Yeah, it could be. I think, though, it's in the Senate is where the fight's going to be. And I think Speaker Ryan and Mitch McConnell are going to be taking their cues from the White House. Because if the president says, I'm going to veto this if it doesn't have what I want, then, they may actually say, okay, it sort of strengthens their resolve. So
Sure.
If they cave, it's definitely, especially for Ryan, it's going to be a real headache for him politically.
That's already been signaled for sure. Mark Krikorian, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, well, freedom of religion rejected. The bakery refusing to make a cake for a same-sex wedding. Losing a lawsuit and their livelihood at the same time. The family now being forced to shut down their business. They break their silence live with us next. And time for your News by the Numbers New Year's Eve edition. First, 1 billion. That's how many people around the world will be watching the ball drop in Times Square on television. Next, 3,000. That's how many pounds of confetti will be dropping at midnight. The confetti released from the rooftops of buildings throughout Times Square, creating that classic celebratory blizzard. And finally, 50 tons. That's roughly how much debris will be picked up during the massive cleanup after New Year's Eve festivities. It is disgusting, but they get after it very quickly. Rachel, over to you.
All right, freedom of religion rejected over a cake. Christian bakers lost their business after being ordered to pay a $135,000 fine because they stuck to their religious beliefs, refusing to bake a cake for a lesbian wedding back in 2013. The Oregon Appeals Court ruling the bakery was in the wrong for discriminating based on sexual orientation. Now, joining us for their first interview since the ruling are the former owners of the Sweet Cakes by Melissa Bakery, Aaron and Melissa Klein, and they are joined by Michael Berry of the Liberty Institute, who is representing them. Thank you both for being here. So you lost your business. You had to pay a restitution of $135,000, including a tithing account of 10% that you labeled for God. So why do you think you weren't able to persuade the judge in this case to rule on your behalf?
I mean, I personally couldn't say why we couldn't persuade the judges in this case. I don't know their reasoning behind it. I just know that this is one step in the process. It's disappointing, but we're going to continue to move forward.
How has it affected your business and also your family finances?
Well, it's definitely been, hard on our family. It's taken a toll on our family. But, I can say, too, though, that God is so good and He's been taking care of us. So,
you have children. I understand that they've been bullied in school as well.
We haven't had a whole lot of that. We do homeschool our kids. This kind of affected that a little bit, but we decided for many reasons to pull them out of school and homeschool them.
Okay, Michael, why do you think that the judge did not rule in their favor?
Well, if you look at the court's opinion, which is available at firstliberty.org for people who want to read it themselves, one of the things that the court said was they didn't think that custom designing and making a custom wedding cake is a form of art. And of course, we just heard the Supreme Court talk about this, a similar issue not too long ago. And, as the ACLU themselves said, freedom of expression for ourselves means we have to allow freedom of expression for others. And
Right.
Aaron and Melissa Klein just want the same basic treatment that everybody else in this country wants and deserves.
Could this backfire on liberals? I mean, could, say, for example, a liberal speechwriter be compelled to write for a conservative speech for a conservative politician? I mean, is this a slippery slope that might not just affect religious people?
Absolutely. Punishing people for their religious beliefs is wrong. It's un-American. And if you take this court's opinion and you really look at what it truly means for not just religious liberty, but freedom of speech and the First Amendment in this country, it absolutely could be extended that far. Because it really falls to what do these judges, who in their own subjective opinions think constitutes expression or art. And they said, look, we even concede and acknowledge that Melissa
custom designs these cakes. She puts her own independent stamp on every cake. But we just don't think that that's art. That was their opinion, and they said because of that, it's not protected by the First Amendment. That's outrageous.
Now, I understand that the lesbian couple actually claimed that they experienced physical harm by Melissa and Aaron. They said they experienced, weight gain. They even said they felt mentally raped.
Yeah, I mean, look, in this country, if we're going to be a truly diverse and pluralistic country that tolerates all points of view, then as the Supreme Court recently opined, tolerance is a two-way street. What about what's happened to Aaron and Melissa Klein and their family, and the fact that this $135,000 penalty has forced them to close their business? I mean, that's harmful not only to Aaron and Melissa Klein, but really to all Americans, because that means the government can now force us, under threat of massive penalties, to say things that go against our religious beliefs, and that's just wrong.
Well, Melissa, Aaron, Michael, all of you have been a great example of standing up for our Constitution, our religious liberty. I know that you've received lots of, as you said before, lots of support around the country from others who are standing up, also are thrilled that you're standing up for religious liberty. So thank you for being here. We wish you the best. I hope you still get to bake coming in the new year, and we wish all the best for you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, new proof of the next generation that it's already learning to disrespect America. The celebrity who actually was brought to tears of joy because her son sat for the national anthem. And we're getting ready for 2018 with the best champagne for any budget and last-minute appetizers and desserts.
Sharing this photo with their son, Elwin, who is serving overseas in the Navy in Japan, and the group, A Hero's Welcome, thanks to them, was able to make it happen. Remember this? He's actually not in Japan. He's actually on 6th Avenue. Get away from me. Surprise.
You may remember that very special Christmas military surprise happening right here on Fox and Friends.
And here's the Miranda family having a blast on their trip to Florida together.
Look at that, hitting up a little Disneyland there. Good stuff. They never thought it would happen. But thanks to the good folks here at Fox and Friends, it did happen.
It did. Cool. Good for you guys. Turning now to your headlines. New overnight. South Korea seizing a Panama flag-bearing ship suspected of smuggling oil to North Korea amid heavy UN sanctions. This after just revealing that in late November, a Hong Kong flag vessel was believed to have done the same. Meantime, Russia is denying reports that its tankers smuggled fuel to the rogue nation, which relies on their products for its missile and nuclear programs. A man under arrest accused of wanting to join ISIS and trying to destroy the evidence. According to court documents, Sean Andrew Duncan expressed interest in making homemade bombs and carrying out an attack in the U.S. The feds say he tried to destroy a thumb drive and a memory chip when agents showed up at his Virginia home. He is charged with attempting to obstruct terrorism investigation. Will and Grace star Deborah Messing praising her son for sitting during the national anthem at a hockey game. Messing describing how emotional she felt over his decision to protest, posting this quote, "Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance." Her son saying, quote, "Mom, I want to sit down and protest. Can we do that?" She responds, "Yes, honey, we can do that." Who's crying? I'm not crying. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Wow. Cops called in after a crazy squirrel breaks into a home and steals cookies from the kitchen. What happens next is hilarious. Oh my God. Jumping right on top of one of the officers in upstate New York. It then ran out of the kitchen where police eventually caught it and set it outside where it is now free.
So if you're ever walking by a tree and you think, I wonder if that squirrel's going to come lunging at me.
It just might.
They kind of fly.
And if you're a cop, you're like, hey, what's going to happen today? Maybe I'll have to capture a squirrel. All right, we're going to check in now with Rick Reichmuth live from Times Square. The ball is just hours away from being dropped. And Rick, you are in the center of it all. He's with the USO Performance Troupe, Rick.
I know. Yeah, I'm like
Yes, amazing morning here, and it's such an honor for us to have you guys here. You guys are USO troops. You guys do such amazing work performing for our troops. How many performances do you guys do a year?
Over 400 performances every year, globally.
Globally. So you guys travel around the world keeping our troops' spirits up, basically. Is that the mission?
Yeah, keeping them connected to their home, to their family, and to their country through entertainment while they're over serving our great country.
Yeah, and there's 64 of you. You're in different groups, so moving around all over the place.
Yep.
And you guys are all performers. Like, your voices are spectacular.
Yep, we're all based here in New York City.
That's amazing. All right, so I'm going to back off here and let you guys sing real quickly. Okay, so do your thing for us.
First to fight for the right and to build a nation's might. Anchors away, my boys. Semper Paratus is our guide. From the halls of Montezuma, off we go into the wild blue yonder. This is America.
Okay, how many songs did you just pack into that 30-second medley?
5 songs.
That was amazing. All right, your name's Brandon.
Yep.
And everybody else's name real quick?
Yeah, we have Courtney, Zoe, Amandina, and Jeremy.
All right, hey, thank you guys so much for being here today. You guys are performing tonight as well.
Yeah, 8:02 will be on the countdown stage.
Amazing, wonderful. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Pete, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks a lot. Next time, just have him do the Army song. We appreciate it. Thanks, Rick. All right, for those planning on toasting the new year, our next guest compiled a list of the best champagnes to fit any budget. Joining me now is champagne expert Megan Libby. So it wouldn't be New Year's Eve without champagne.
That's right. I can guarantee 2 things. This New Year's Eve, the ball will drop and the corks will pop.
Definitely.
And if the corks are going to pop, it better be real champagne from Champagne, France.
From Champagne, France. That's why it's called champagne. Everything else is just sparkling wine, right?
That's
so,
right.
okay, you've got an array here for us. Explain.
That's right. Well, let's start with this champagne of success and glamour. This is Moet and Chandon. And with champagne, size matters.
Okay.
Guess what?
I'll take the little guy.
Minis are real, and this is a sipper. You can drink right out of it.
A sipper. I've never seen that before.
Don't
That's
you
fantastic.
love it? This is the Moet
cheers.
sipper. Cheers.
So Moet, how much is that going to run you?
These little sippers are only $12 a bottle. You can get a 6-pack or a case. Then, of course, a great option is a Magnum. Both Veuve Clicquot and the Moet and Chandon come in Magnums. So the Moet, that's going to be about $10 a person. This will serve 10 people.
Love it. And the I don't even know how to say it. How do I say
Veuve.
it?
Veuve
I call it
rhymes with
Veuve,
love.
but it's basically the Dom Perignon of the people, right?
Yeah, this is America's
More
favorite
affordable.
champagne. And Veuve means widow. And it rhymes with love, so if you ever forget.
I love it. How about these other 3? Help us out.
So let's talk a little bit about rosé. Dispel some myths. People think rosé is going to be sweet, right?